This is the all-new 2024 Bajaj Pulsar N250, the most powerful Pulsar yet, until of course the Pulsar 400 launches next month. As you can see, this one for this new year comes with a whole flurry of changes. The most obvious one is the new paint scheme. To be honest, this is not really my favorite. I prefer the black one with the red highlights. But the more important thing which has made the difference here is something we have wanted for a long time, which is upside down forks. So this one gets beefy 37mm upside down forks at the front. Along with that, you also have wider section tires at the front and the back. So the front is a 110/70, the rear is a 140/70, which obviously helps give this street fighter a more beefy look. And to complement that, you also have a lot of upgrades on the tech front, starting with a new instrument cluster which comes with Bluetooth connectivity. So you have turn-by-turn navigation, you have incoming calls, and on top of that, on the safety front, you also get traction control now. You also get 3 different modes of dual channel ABS, which are rain, road and off-road. In case you're wondering, why do you have an off-road mode on a Pulsar, which is clearly a street fighter? Well, that's because you have to look at the audience of the Pulsar brand. A lot of them come from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities where the infrastructure is not really the best. You have a lot of unpaved roads, and the intention was to give people more confidence in tackling those sections on the Pulsar. Whole lot of changes, and I'm really excited to see how all of them have transformed the motorcycle on the road. So let's go find out. So in terms of engine, this is exactly the same. 249cc, makes 24.5 horses, 21.5 Newton meters of torque. This is oil cooled, 2 valve, comes with a 5-speed gearbox. And the aim here, as compared to the NS200, is more of mid-range, because this is supposed to thrive in the urban jungle. So you have a lot of mid-range. Up at the top, it's not as strong as the NS200. But on the gearbox front, I have to say, I think they have made a small improvement. This definitely seems a little more precise than its predecessor, which was slick but not very precise. But I've also observed this, the gearbox is prone to some sort of failure, starts making this weird sound. You observe that on this bike as well, and I've seen that on previous other Pulsar models as well. So even though the gearbox now is working fine, I think there's still room for improvement there. But yeah, the biggest change that you see, of course, is in terms of the riding dynamics now with the upside down forks. But the interesting bit here is that this is still set up more on the softer side, and overall they have erred more on the side of stability than sportiness. You have to put in a little more effort to get the motorcycle to turn in because of the wider section tires. But the bike does feel a lot more stable now in corners and out of it. But yeah, if you're looking for having a lot of fun in corners, then the NS200 still makes more sense, because that is set up to be more on the sportier side. This one, despite having upside down forks, which will be more rigid, which will be less prone to flexing when you're pushing the motorcycle hard, I don't think Bajaj have 100% utilized these benefits which come with the upside down forks, because the setup is still very much on the softer side, more towards a plush ride quality, and the ride quality is great. It is very, very plush. But I do have to say that I can see some benefits of the upside down forks also in the braking department, because on the previous iteration I felt the braking was not as great, in the sense that I liked the initial bite from the brakes, but I felt the overall response, overall stopping power could have been better. Whereas on this one, I think with the support of the bigger forks, it also could be the ABS calibration that they have done, which allows you to put more stopping power down before the ABS kicks in. And that's a good thing, because now this feels a lot more sure-footed even under hard braking. The other benefits of the N250 have carried on in terms of factors which would make it really good in the urban environment. You have a very approachable seat height at 800 mm, you have 165 mm of ground clearance. The refinement is very much there, which is what I liked on the previous bike, the previous iteration as well, because it's much smoother, much more refined compared to the NS200. Yes, there are vibes which creep in around 6000 RPM. In the higher gears, they do seem to settle down, and you should be able to cruise easily on the highways at a very decent 120 kilometers an hour with the engine still nice and calm. And while you may argue that why do you need traction control and 3 different modes of ABS on a 250cc bike which doesn't really make all of the power, I still think it's a benefit, especially when you're riding in really tricky, really sketchy conditions on a muddy road or after it has rained. It's a good safety feature to have, and then of course you always have the option of switching it off, but so far I've not seen it intrude too much. I did not even notice it kicking in, so that's the good part. It's not like a nanny which is always trying to get in your way of riding the motorcycle like you wanted, but at the same time it's there as a backup in situations where you really need it. So to summarize, the N250 in its 2024 avatar has definitely made a step in terms of componentry, in terms of tech, which brings a whole lot of value to the end consumer. I personally just feel that Bajaj might have missed a trick or two with the upside down forks because they have not fully utilized all the advantages it brings to a table. And then there are also some quality issues which need to be addressed in terms of the gearbox. But that aside, the fact that you can take this home for just 1000 rupee more than the previous iteration means that this is Bajaj again trying to get back and own the mantle of offering you the maximum buck for your money.